And a fully stocked Rawlings Pro Shop, you'll see why DBAT is Kansas City's premier indoor facility for baseball and softball. Call 913-888-3228 for more information, and be sure to visit their Lenexa location at 16150 West 110th Street. For all your baseball and softball needs, look no further than DBAT.
Hey, it's Lebo here for CertaPro Painters. If you're in need of a paint job inside or outside of your home or business, do like I've done for years. Use CertaPro. You can schedule a free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so they're local. They take pride in their work from start to finish. They've done it for me, both inside and outside of my home, and they'll do it for you as well. Knock off an interior project right now or get on the schedule for exterior work this spring right now at CertaPro.com. For CertaPro Painters.
Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810 WHP Kansas City.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the number one motorsports show for over 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, not mostly motorsports. I'm Scott Traylor. He's Kirk Elliott. We're the Racing Boys. Todd Surprise helping us out back here at the studio, and we got who we got back there at 8?
Kyle. We got Kyle back.
Kyle.
There, so
good to have Kyle back.
Yeah. Doing a great job. Mostly Motorsports is our Monday show.
Mostly Motorsports is the Monday show.
This is our Saturday show.
Yeah, right.
So good morning, everybody. Not much racing going on last night.
No, not much
or
going on.
Or this weekend, for that matter.
Probably the biggest news locally here, Kirk, is we've lost a local racer this weekend.
Yeah, he was the founder of the vintage car division, the SMVR Vintage Car Club, Mickey Fleehart. We heard the sad news that he passed away yesterday suddenly, and it's just shocked everybody. Great guy. He was the founder of that SMVR Club. He and his wife, Christy, great friends of racing, and Mickey Fleehart was about as personal a guy as you'd ever want to meet. He was just very visible, knew everybody, and everybody knew him, and it's just a sad loss that everybody's dealing with here today.
Yeah, passed away of a heart attack, from what I understand.
Yeah.
At 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad news, so our hearts and prayers go out to Christy and her family and all the people associated with vintage car racing. It's that's a hard one to swallow there.
Yep, no doubt about it. Kirk, today is a big day for you. You're going to MC the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to that. Big day out at the Elks Club in Blue Springs. Was out there last night helping get things set up. And the venue is pretty well set up. There's some more folks going in there about 10 o'clock this morning to finish things up, and about 3 o'clock this afternoon, the doors open. The program gets started about 4 o'clock. We'll induct 8 inductees into the 2022 class, not the 2023 class, but the 2022 class of the Hall of Fame, because we didn't have an induction ceremony in 2021.
Right.
So, because of the COVID pandemic, but the 8 drivers and other folks that are going into the Hall of Fame include Rick Beebe, Jerry Cobert, Jerry Gilbert, Bob Reber, Tom Bierman, Lonnie Farley, Danny Lasowski, and Fast Freddie Whistler. So all very deserving nominees, and we'll look forward to putting them in the Hall of Fame today.
A little bit of a letdown here. Rick Beebe not going to be there tonight, right?
Yeah, I was... we heard last night. I guess he's down in Texas.
Petty, Texas.
Yeah, he's got his. He's still racing, by the way. Rick Beebe's still out there doing his thing, and he's down at Rocket Speedway this weekend.
Would this not be big enough for you to be here?
Well,
wouldn't you think? If you're getting into a Hall of Fame, don't you think that you should be here?
We'll miss Rick there, but we'll also miss Danny Lasowski, who will not be there either. But Bob Baker is going to accept his award going in. Danny, he told us a few weeks ago he was going to be with the Outlaws down at Volusia this weekend.
Right.
Helping out there. He lives down in Florida now, right?
He does. Yeah, he lives in Florida.
So we knew that Danny wasn't going to be with us, but everybody else is going to be there. Jerry Cobert and Lonnie Farley and
Bob
Reber. They'll all be there, and we'll have fun. It'll be good. So,
and for the first time in many years, Kirk, we're not going to be streaming this live tonight, right?
No, we just don't we don't have the wherewithal to pull that off tonight. So, but hopefully, I think we're going to have a good turnout, folks, there tonight, and love to see everybody out there.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a bummer that we're not doing it live. How many years did we do that live?
A few. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But
you remember, Todd, how many years it's been?
I did 5 or 6. I know I did 5 of them. So.
Right.
But we just weren't able to put that all together this year. So
I've got plans, and Kirk's trying to MC, and the streaming last year was suspect at best, and I felt bad.
It went in and out last year.
It really did, and like you said, it's tough when unless you.
Well, they don't have house internet over there.
If you don't have a dedicated
line.
So it's just that makes it tough. So,
but I think we're going to have a pretty good turnout tonight, and love to see everybody out there today. And again, it starts at 4:00 this afternoon. We'll induct 4 members, and then have dinner, and then the other 4 members will be inducted. So that's the way things will go.
Right, Kirk, you do a lot of work for this Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame.
I don't do much at all.
Huh?
I went out there and helped them set up tables and chairs and things of that nature, just kind of helped out a bit, but I don't do much. There are other people that do way more than I do when it comes to the Hall of Fame, and thanks to all of the volunteers and all the folks that put that in. We're going to have Ray Cunningham on Hour 2 exclusively on Racing Boys, Facebook and YouTube. Ray is he put together all the profiles for this, and he's going to join us and tell us about some of these inductees coming up in Hour 2.
Yeah. How about Kyle Busch?
Man, he's
on a roll, isn't he?
He smoked him last night in that truck race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch, coming off that Cup Series win at Fontana last week, is definitely on a roll right now. And, I'm not surprised about this, Scott. I think we talked about it when he moved over to Richard Childress Racing. I thought he would do well over there.
I believe, if you ask me, that Kyle Busch is motivated to win the championship this year.
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me on that?
I would agree with that. And he was going to be good in that 8 car because Tyler Reddick was good in that car. He won 3 races in that car a year ago.
Right.
To not think that Kyle Busch could step into that ride and do well.
How many races do you think he'll win this year?
I think there's a chance that Kyle could win
5 or 6.
5 or 6 races.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because he's better than the last driver that was in there.
I think so, but Tyler Reddick's pretty good.
He's a pretty good race car driver.
Who, by the way, is off to about as bad a start as you can ever imagine in that 45 car for 2311 Racing. Tyler Reddick not off to a very good start at all in his first 2 races, so
no doubt.
That's the other end of the equation. But last night, Kyle Busch led 84 of 134 laps in the Craftsman Truck Series race out at Las Vegas. Dominated, I think at one time he had about a 7-second lead, won by 4 seconds, 4.9 seconds, almost 5 seconds last night over Zane Smith. Ben Rhodes finished in 3rd place, but that was Kyle Busch's show last night at his home track out in Las Vegas.
Well, he's always motivated when he goes to Las Vegas, right?
He's won 1 Cup race out there. I think that was
what do you think his chances of winning this weekend?
I think it's pretty good. He's in all 3 races, by the way. Mm-hmm. He's going to be in the Xfinity race today. We'll see how he does there. So he's got a pretty good chance of doing the triple this weekend, I think.
No doubt. I think the other big news going into this weekend, when you talk about Cup racing, is Chase Elliott is going to miss the Las Vegas race. Josh Berry is going to sub. He got a leg injury while snowboarding.
Man, oh man.
They got a lot of snow out there.
And they're doing surgery. Did they do surgery on it
They
yesterday?
were supposed to do it last night, right, Todd?
Friday night is when they were scheduled to do it, so I think he already in. Hopefully,
I think he's going to be out for a while.
Well, you won't be back soon, depending on what kind of surgery.
We know
it
he's
is,
out
but
this weekend. Beyond that, we just don't know right this time. But Josh Berry will step in that car, and we'll see what happens. Rick Hendrick put out a message, said Chase's health is our primary concern. He's spoken with several members of our team and is understandably disappointed to miss time in the car. Of course, he has our full support and will provide any resources he needs. We hope to share another update later this weekend. Those were the words of team owner Rick Hendrick.
Right. And we also got some sound from Hudson O'Neill that we did this week on Mostly Motorsports. We're going to play that interview in our next segment. And then also we've got some Trenton Berry sound that we did an interview with him, and they're racing down at USMTS down in Petty, Texas this weekend.
Yeah, and when we talked to him on Monday, and you'll hear it in this segment, he wasn't even sure they were going to make a trip down to Texas this weekend. The weather looked kind of iffy at best, and they ended up trying to make a go of it this weekend. Thursday and Friday wiped out. They just they called those nights off early, but they saw a better forecast for Saturday, so they're still on for tonight. The main events are tonight, and then they're going to come back and run a show to help make up for one of the shows they missed on Thursday and Friday on Sunday. So the big money is tonight. Then they're going to come back on Sunday and run another show, try to get 2 nights in this weekend. So as far as I can tell so far, they're still on for tonight. I'm not exactly sure what the forecast is down there, but they're going to try to go at it tonight down at Rocket Raceway Park in Petty, Texas for the season opener of the United States Modified Touring Series.
Yeah. We got our good listener from out in Pennsylvania. She's chiming in. She says, "Hi, boys. Stopping in real quick to wish you a good weekend. Going to a nephew's basketball game this weekend. Lincoln is still on today at 3 p.m.
And that's amazing. They've gotten the shows in that they've gotten so far. Last weekend,
they're lucky.
They raced on Sunday last weekend.
I think the weather's supposed to get bad up there, isn't it?
Yeah. Boy, this time of the year, you just never know.
You never know what's going on up there.
But for them to get 2 shows in a week ago out at Lincoln Speedway, that was pretty amazing stuff. I think, what was it, a week ago on Thursday night, it was Freddie Raymer that picked up the win. And then they had that show on Sunday afternoon. I'm looking up. I see so many races. I'm looking to see who won that race on Sunday afternoon at Lincoln Speedway. You and I are getting old. Our memories are not working too good right now. But they did have the race at Lincoln Speedway last Sunday afternoon. That was an afternoon show, and Justin Peck was the winner.
Yes.
That's the name I was looking for.
The 13 car won.
Yeah, he finished second to Freddie Raymer on Thursday night, and then he came back and picked up the win for the Icebreaker finale on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, no doubt. Justin Peck, pretty good race car driver.
He's really stepped up.
He's really good.
He'll be racing full-time for the All-Stars this year, as he's done for the past couple of years. Hey, there was one other sprint car race last weekend we didn't talk about. Terry McCarl won the USCS double down at Southern Raceway Park in Florida last weekend. Terry McCarl won those 2 races, and the USCS ran last night at Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and Davey Franick picked up the win down there last night in the USCS.
Mm-hmm. What USMTS is going to be on Racing Dirt tonight, right?
Racing Dirt, that's Trenton and Stick Boy, Austin Kruger's website, racingdirt.com. And you'll be able to see all the action this weekend from down at Petty on Racing Dirt.
A little disappointed in Rick not making it to the Hall of Fame. Just going to say.
Well, we'll still have fun.
You know, it would be nice if Danny would have come up too, right? Who's gonna be in there for Danny?
Bob Baker is going to accept the award for Danny tonight.
Both those guys still.
Bob Baker is so good at what he does.
Yeah. He's a Hall of Famer himself, Bob Baker.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, yep, we'll have a good time tonight.
Yep.
And honor all the inductees, present and past.
Kirk, so Dazen Pursley is going to be running full-time in the midget. He's going to be running the Reinbold Underwood Motorsports car. Did you see that?
Yes, sir. The full-time in the midgets. Of course, Dazen Pursley is a great story. You remember just over a year ago, he was involved in that terrible accident down at Arizona Speedway that nearly cost him his life. And the fact that he was able to recover from that, a lot of people wonder if he'd ever walk again.
Right.
And he recovered fully from that. And for him to come back the way he has, and when he did come back, he won races.
Yeah, no
doubt.
So
just a pretty miraculous story for Dazen Pursley, and he's in a pretty good ride, that Reinbold Underwood car, and will be running full-time in the midgets. I think he's got a pretty good shot of maybe going for the championship this year. Who knows?
I wouldn't go quite that far. I think there's some other good guys there that he's going to have to outrun. You know, you've got quite a few of the national guys there. I think I believe that Ryan Timms is going to be a guy that's going to be running for that championship.
Well, he stepped into the reigning two-time championship-winning car for Keith Kunz Motorsports.
Right.
That Buddy Kofoid
67
drove.
car, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan Timms going to be driving that car. Definitely, you got to say he's a championship contender. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out this year. I think it's wide open as far as the USAC midgets are concerned.
Right. So, Kirk, what do you think about what's going on the local racing scene right now?
Well, we're waiting for the season to open up.
Right.
I think I-35 Speedway is supposed to have practice sessions this weekend. They'd scheduled them this weekend, but I'm not sure if that's still on. They're supposed to have a race on the 18th of this month, a big USRA event that's, I think, is going to pay pretty good money. So as far as the tracks around the Kansas City area, I-35 is the earliest that will kick things up for the year.
And if you're looking for a summer job, Lucas Oil Speedway, they have a job fair that's going on this Saturday, today. So if you want to go down there and you want a summer job working at a racetrack, you could do that. You could
Good place to work there.
Huh?
That's a great place to work.
It's one of the better places to work in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And they're looking for quite a few different people to work down there. They've got all kinds of different jobs available down there. So if you want to go down there and work at Lucas Oil Speedway, the Diamond of Dirt Tracks, Kirk, is Lucas Oil Speedway the nicest racetrack in the country?
In my opinion, yes.
Right.
When you take into consideration the whole facility and the pits and just the grandstands and the way it's all laid out, absolutely. Right. There's not many better than Lucas Oil Speedway, that's for sure.
Yeah. No
hey,
doubt.
One other big event we haven't talked about this weekend, the World of Outlaws back in action.
Monday.
A Sunday Monday show.
That's weird, isn't it?
Well, they're all working it out with Bike Week. You know, there's a lot of activity going on up at Daytona for Bike Week, and so things are scheduled for Sunday and Monday down at Volusia Speedway Park. So get ready to watch sprint car race. And that's probably the biggest weekend race of the weekend, wouldn't you say?
I would say it is. Yeah, no doubt.
Of course, out at Las Vegas, we've already talked about that with NASCAR, but all eyes will, if you're a dirt race fan, sprint car fan, you're going to be watching what's going on at Volusia this weekend. That racetrack has been pretty racy this year. I was very impressed with the late models and the modifieds, the last show that they ran down there.
UMP modifieds.
A couple of weeks ago on Saturday night, last lap passes for the lead. And I thought the sprint cars put on a good show when they were able to get on the racetrack.
The only problem I saw with that racetrack is when you exited turn 2, just about where you crossed over on the track, where the cars came out onto the track, there was a little bump right there, and it would unload the cars a little bit. And we see a lot of guys struggle with that. Sometimes they would get up around it. Sometimes they go below it. But if you hit that bump straight on, it would unload your car.
Well, maybe they've had a couple of weeks to work that out. So maybe they might have that issue worked out by the time they get to the racetrack.
Maybe so.
Here this weekend. So that was an issue. I didn't notice it so much when the late models and the modifieds were going at it. But, different cars, too. Cars are different race
listen,
cars.
Kirk, I sat over there in that corner in those grandstands, and I watched a lot of cars hit that bump over there. I saw a lot of cars, modified, sprint cars.
So it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, it's been there for a bit.
Yeah.
When I was down there in Florida, when I saw that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it all goes this weekend. The last time they were down there, it's a really fast racetrack. So
they call it the world's fastest half mile.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I wouldn't say it's the world's fastest half mile.
I would think that
Bristol's the world's fastest half mile, wouldn't you say?
I would think Bristol's the world's fastest half mile.
And even when they put dirt on it, it's still faster.
It's still faster, right? Yeah, no doubt about it.
So I would beg to differ on that claim.
Yeah.
But if you look back in the first races that they had down there, Donnie Schatz won. Sheldon Haudenschild. Well, I'm looking at 2022.
Oh.
But
that might not be good.
I was trying to remember back to the races that they had. David Gravel won both those races.
Right.
That's it.
David Gravel, he knows his way around that racetrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first two races that they've had at Volusia Speedway Park this year, David Gravel was the big winner. So we'll see if he can keep that going tonight.
All right, you're listening to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. When we come back, we're going to listen to an interview that we did with Hudson O'Neal on Mostly Motorsports on Monday. That's all next, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Hi, this is Toby Tobin along with Jason Goodenkoff from Lewisburg Ford in Lewisburg, Kansas. Hi, Jason.
Hello, Toby.
Holy cow, you've done it again.
We've done it again, Toby. We won the President's Award again this year. This is the 20th time we've been awarded this awesome honor from Ford Motor Company.
But what is the President's Award?
The President's Award is the top award Ford Motor Company gives its dealers for excellence in customer satisfaction in both sales and service and their sales penetration numbers. So we are super honored to have received this award for the 20th time.
It covers the whole works at Lewisburg Ford.
Absolutely, and it's a testament to the awesome people we have working at Lewisburg Ford and helping our customers, and it really shows with this award because it's a few dealers that get it, and we've done it 20 times.
I guarantee you this is the best place to buy a Ford car or truck in the Midwest.
Absolutely. You couple that President's Award lineage with our no-hassle Toby Tobin pricing, it does not get any better than that.
What is your toll-free number?
816-444-2300.
Or LewisburgFord.com.
The wait is over. Marijuana is now legal and available in Missouri to anyone over 21. And just like medical cannabis, the best resource for recreational marijuana is Relief Resources Dispensary. Experienced users will be blown away by our selection of over 600 products. And if you're trying marijuana for the first time, our famous patient care specialists can answer all your questions. They've even curated a special selection to make it easier to find the experience you're looking for. Good news for medical card patients, too. Unlike some dispensaries, Relief Resources Dispensary is not raising prices in anticipation of a shortage. We've stocked up and will even have a designated register exclusively for our medical patients. You can also save time ordering ahead online and using the drive-thru. Relief Resources Dispensary remains committed to being the #1 provider of alternative natural cannabis therapies to our medical patients. Relief Resources Dispensary in Grandview on 71 Highway at 140th Street and online at reliefmo.com.
Hey, this is Les Norman, host of the Breaking the Norm Show. I want to invite you to join me Saturdays at 7 a.m. on Sports Radio 810 and Tuesdays on ESPN Kansas City 94.5 FM for uplifting and positive sports stories and a whole lot more. We can all use a boost to our day, so why not be motivated and inspired by the stories of the good side of sports, entertainment, and life? There's a whole lot of good out there. Every week, now in our 12th year, it's Breaking the Norm, presented by TruckMovers.com and First Federal Bank of Kansas City.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Compensated dramatization.
What if your car wreck case was set up for $25,000 and you later found out it may have been worth millions of dollars?
Insurance companies try to trick you into taking a quick, cheap settlement. Don't fall for it. Call me. My team will get you what your case is worth.
I didn't let the insurance company pressure me into a fast, cheap settlement. I called Mike and his team, and they got me $3.2 million.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Hey, it's Lebo here for CertaPro Painters.
1 minute.
If you're in need of a paint job inside or outside of your home or business, do like I've done for years. Use CertaPro. You can schedule a free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so they're local. They take pride in their work from start to finish. They've done it for me, both inside and outside of my home, and they'll do it for you as well. Knock off an interior project right now or get on the schedule for exterior work this spring right now at CertaPro.com. For CertaPro Painters.
30 seconds.
March Madness and the Final Four. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
KU will win it for an astounding 17th time in 20 seasons under Bill Self. Your Jayhawks are Big 12 champions.
10 seconds.
Of the regular season against Texas. Kansas basketball on Sports Radio 810 WHB is presented by Harry's Liquors, Amini's, and Xfinity.
Welcome back. It's Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. Kirk, we had a chance on Monday to talk to Hudson O'Neal, who's currently second in the Lucas Oil ASCS National points. He is currently 50 points behind Ricky Thornton Jr., and he is a hell of a racer, isn't he?
Yeah, he won the last two races at East Bay before they rained out the Saturday night show.
He's got 2 feature wins this year.
Right. And then he went over to Volusia Speedway Park, won a dirt car late model race early in the week, and then in the World of Outlaws late model series, he came from 23rd starting spot to win.
That is
final
unbelievable.
Night down at
Come out of the B, started 23rd, and ends up winning the race. And he had to go to the back, didn't he, a couple times?
No, that was you're thinking about when Sam Haferteef.
Sam Haferteef did it, yeah,
at
right.
East Bay, where he had to come from the back twice.
Right.
No, he started 23rd and just charged his way up there and didn't really need a lot of yellow flags to do it.
Right.
And once he got out in front, he just checked out. Anyway, he was on our Mostly Motorsports show earlier this week, and here's a portion of that conversation.
You've been on a roll here lately with the Rocket chassis, and I'm not so sure that it isn't because of you, the driver, that has made that car a little more successful this year. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know about that. We just set out to try and do our best every time we get on the racetrack, and the car has been phenomenal, and we've really got it to fit me really, really well, and it's just been a good pairing so far. I've been so excited to get started down at Speed Weeks and to be able to go down there. And now, I don't know if everybody remembers, we had a pretty rough start to it. It was not necessarily ideal the way it all started, and we didn't even make the race at Volusia the first couple races, and it was a little rough at the beginning, but we pulled together and as you know, that's a good thing about being able to race 20 times all right there in a row is you get a lot of time to work on your stuff. And if it, for some reason, it doesn't start very good, you got a little bit of time to rebound on it. So
right.
it was a successful Speed Weeks, and we're happy how it all turned out.
Do you have a lot of input on the chassis itself when it comes to what you want in a car? Do you give a little input on what you need out of that car?
Well, yes and no. You know, coming into this, you know, in the past, I've always done a lot of the setup stuff myself, and that was something that I really looked forward to, and it had a little bit to do with the decision I made. Going to Rocket Chassis was just being able to be around Mark and Danny and all those guys at Rocket. That they're so intelligent when it comes to the race cars and what we need out of a race car, and that sometimes I don't even know. You know, that the best thing that I can do is just try and tell them where I feel like I lack at, you know, around the racetrack and maybe what I feel like I need, and just let them do their thing. You know, Mark's been around this sport for so long and has so much knowledge of these race cars and the racetracks and everything. You know, he's taught me a lot over the last few months as to you know what I need a little bit in a race car that they've been able to teach me, and yeah, it's been really good. So I try to just do the best I can as from a driver standpoint, and just from the feel, and tell them where I feel like I need to be a little bit better at in the racetrack, and they not 95% of the time they deliver for me. So it's really cool to be able to work with somebody with so much knowledge.
Hey, Hudson, this is Kirk. Congratulations on the great start. Brandon Shepard did a great job in that car for a number of years. He's driving his own family-owned team there. How'd this all come about that you slid into the driver's seat here of the number one Rocket House car?
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. Well, you know, as you know, Shepard and Rocket, they had a split at the end of the year last year, and I don't know. I don't really know what went into to be able to qualify for such a deal. But I know that in the past, you know, me and Mark have always had a good relationship. I've been fortunate to drive Rocket cars, you know, for the past 3 years. And it was just a relationship that I had built with Steve Baker, Mark Richards, you know, the whole team, Danny, Joel, Austin. You know, I've had a relationship with all of them for some years now, and whenever it came time to choose and to fill Brandon's spot as he departed, I guess that they thought that I was qualified. I don't know. So it's really cool to even be considered for such a ride. You know, what I consider the best team in the country, and I've been blessed to have the opportunity to be a part of it. So it just means a lot.
You know, everybody's making a big deal out of these Longhorn chassis. For you guys to step up and do as well as you are, how big of a statement is that? With Longhorn doing as well as they've been doing, for Rocket to do what you're doing now?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm just a race car driver, sir. I just, every time I get in that seat, I just try to do my best and do my job, and whatever follows, whatever happens afterwards, it happens. And you know, it's really cool to be able to represent a company like Rocket Chassis, and to be able to represent a brand, so to speak, you know. You know, we just try to do our best, and you know, the race car industry it'll all work itself out. You know, Longhorn builds a great piece, Rocket Chassis builds a great piece, and we're just trying to do our best to sell race cars. And you know, if we win, we're able. If we can win races, we're going to be able to sell cars. So whenever I get in the seat, I don't necessarily think about the whole Rocket Chassis or Longhorns or anything. You know, I just think about what I can do to try and do my best and win races. And you know, yeah, selling cars is nice, and you know, having a successful business for Mark's and Steve's pleasure, it's good. So we're just out trying to win races, and everything that happens after that, it'll all work itself out.
So you're second in the points now. What do you feel like your chances are of winning the championship this year?
Well, you know, judging off of right now and the way we feel right now, I feel like we have a hell of a shot at it. You know, I think that it's awfully early, but I think that we've had a good start to the season, and you know, I think that if everything continues to go the way it goes, and you know, I think we're going to be stellar. It's just there's a lot of different racetracks we got to go to yet. You know, there's a lot of factors, and I think that with the leadership of Mark and some of the racetracks that I've struggled at, you know, throughout my career, I think that, you know, they're gonna be able to help me at just from their knowledge of the racetracks and being there so much and racing for so long. I think that it's gonna be a good pairing. So time will tell, but I think that we stand just as good a shot as any of them.
Well, the way this points system lays out now, it's kind of a NASCAR-style format. There's a cutoff. One racetrack that's very important to all this is Lucas Oil Speedway, a track you've had some pretty good success at. Talk about that racetrack and how important that's going to be on the way to a possible championship.
Yeah, it's only 2.5 hours from our house.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I seen the Kansas City deal. But yeah, no, I love Lucas Oil Speedway. Lucas Oil Speedway has been very good to me, and I've been successful there and won some races, and yeah, I think that you know, that Wheatland, Port Royal, I think all of those places are going to be important throughout the whole duration of the season, and whatever you know, those cutoff races are going to be important, and you know, it all leads up to the final at Eldora. So
yeah,
we're just going to have to make sure we have our ducks in a row, you know, whenever we come to those cutoff races. But we're going to try to do our job throughout the year to put us in position where those cutoff races aren't such a big deal and we can be ahead of the curve.
What are your thoughts about the Dirt Track World Championship moving to Eldora Speedway, and that's going to be the finale for this championship?
Yeah, it's really cool. I think that, you know, how fitting to be at Eldora, you know, the mecca of a lot of our sport, you know, not just in the late model side, but you could say in the sprint car side and everything else too, you know. And I think that with the background of Eldora and what it means to dirt late model racing, I think it's just it came full circle. And you know, I think it's only fair to have our season finale there. But I think it's going to put on some good racing. It's going to host an amazing event. You know, we talked a lot about this chase style format that they have and what it's going to mean to go into the final race of the year and know that 4 guys could win a championship all in one night. And, you know, there's an opportunity for somebody to walk out of there with $300,000. And I think that it's going to be really cool. It's going to draw a lot of excitement to the race. I think it's going to be really good for 3 people, and it's going to suck for 1. It's going to suck for whoever's leading the points, but whoever's running second, third, and fourth is going to be awesome.
Let me ask you this. Late model racing right now is really the most glamorous motorsports event of all time right now, because the money that it's being paid in late model racing right now, man, it's a great time to be a late model racer, isn't it?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, you know, the money that these series have promoted to put out is unbelievable. And, you know, it makes, like you said, it makes being a dirt late model racer right now very rewarding at times. And, you know, don't get me wrong, if you don't win, it still can be mediocre or average at best, you know. But if you can capitalize, win some races, yeah, you know, there's major benefits that come with it. And but I've always thought that late model racing was one of the most competitive sports of racing that there is. You know, it's so tough, and you know, it says a lot whenever a guy can win a race one night and then go back out and you know, run 20th the next night. It just shows you how competitive everybody is. And yeah, so I think right now dirt late model racing is in a great spot, and you know, I think that with the money and the sponsors and everything that's coming into it, I think that it's only going to get bigger, hopefully, and I think that we're headed in the right direction, but I still feel like we have a long way to go.
Hey, let's talk about those races down in Florida. You won the last 2 nights at East Bay, but then you go over to Volusia. That last race, How much fun was that? You started 23rd and made that epic charge to win that race.
That was great.
Talk about that.
Whenever you can do something like that, it's always fun and it's enjoyable to do something. And but those were one of those things that never happen. It a lot of things got to go your way throughout the course of the race to do something like that. And in the beginning of the race I was very fortunate with just being able to pass a lot right there at the very beginning of the night or at the very beginning of the race. And I don't know. It's something that I'll never forget. I'm sure. And it was really cool for my team, really cool for me. And you always dream of doing something like that. You just don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Did you find the rubber a little bit early in that race? Did it rubber up quite a bit on that last race?
Not really. I'll tell you where I made a lot of my time at was, right through the middle of that racetrack. The bottom was really muddy and it was throwing some wet crumbs out across the racetrack, and the middle of the racetrack was starting to brown back up just a little bit from those wet crumbs sitting on the racetrack. And whenever we took the green of that race, nobody really went through the middle, so it was just it was like the gates opened up, and
right.
I was able to pass a lot of people right through the middle, in the first 2 or 3 laps, and I think I passed 10 or so cars right there, and like I said, it goes back to saying just a lot of stuff has to go your way. If somebody would occupy the middle of the racetrack, it probably wouldn't have happened like it did for me. So, I think that it was a testament to my team, that no matter how bad the night got, because the night got pretty bad. We qualified bad. We didn't make it through the heat race. We barely captured the last transfer spot in the B main. We were just worried about getting in the race, let alone winning it.
Right.
And so, I think it says a lot about my team never gave up on me, even though I made some mistakes throughout the night to get us behind like that. I think that they knew that if we had a good race car, that we could come up through there and salvage a good run. But I don't think we ever thought of winning. But I think that a good run was in our sight, and we just it just happened to be a little bit sweeter than we all thought.
We're visiting with Hudson O'Neal again. You got a little time off. You're not going to be racing, it looks like, until Atomic Speedway on the 17th. What are you going to do with yourself?
Well, we've been keeping an eye on the Smoky Mountain, on the World of Outlaws event at Smoky Mountain, and we got our eyes set on that right now. It's not on my schedule or anything, but we're if the weather cooperates, I think that we're going to give it a shot. So I don't know, but if it doesn't happen, I got a lot of time to deal with. I'm at home right now. I came back to Indiana. I went to West Virginia for a few days and worked, and then came back, and I've just been, spending some time just working and hanging out and taking it easy. So it's been good to be home, good to see my family and everything. So we'll, if we don't go to Smoky Mountain, I'll get a bunch more time to spend with some family.
There you have it. That's Hudson O'Neal. He's currently second in the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series national points. He's got 2 wins this year, 7 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and 10 starts. He's 50 points out of the lead right now, Kurt.
Yeah, it's interesting the way this points championship bears out. It's a NASCAR-style system they've got in the Lucas Oil Late Model Series now, and they'll pare it down to the 16 drivers after the Show Me 100 at Lucas Oil Speedway.
Is there anything better than late model racing right now, financially?
Right now, no. And the quality of the racing is very good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say they'll pare it down to 8 drivers after the Diamond Nationals at Lucas Oil Speedway in July, and then the top 4 go for the championship at the Dirt Track World Championships in October, which this year is held at Eldora Speedway. So Hudson O'Neal's got a pretty good shot at doing this thing. Tim McCready is the 2-time defending champion.
Yeah, and he is currently 4th in the points. He's got 0 wins, 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and 10 starts. No wins for Tim McCready. That's pretty unusual for him.
But he has come close a couple of times.
He has come close.
I wouldn't count him out. I wouldn't count out Jonathan Davenport either, who's going for this championship as well.
Yep, no doubt. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, More of Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. We'll be back with more right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB in a moment. Stay tuned.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
The Kansas Open Season Sportsman's Expo, presented by Progressive, returns to the Overland Park Convention Center Friday, March 10th through Sunday, March 12th. Come see the latest products, gear, and equipment for hunting and outdoor enthusiasts. Try before you buy cutting-edge products and shop special show-only pricing. Also, bring your buck for scoring in the Trophy Deer Contest. Purchase tickets in advance online at OpenSeasonSportsman'sExpo.com. Brought to you by Liberty RV.
Hello, it's Mark Whitlow from Office Products Alliance. Have you ever considered where your dollar goes when you spend it? Did you know when you buy from a local company, 70% of your dollar stays in our community? When you buy from a national, non-local company, only 40% does. Now that's a difference maker. Let's keep it local, KC, and support our community and our neighbors. Check us out at opakc.com. OPA is a proud partner of Sports Radio 810.
Great music tells a story, and so does great bourbon. At Blue Note Bourbon, they put soul into every handcrafted bottle of Blue Note. Maybe that's why it's won so many awards. Ask for Blue Note Bourbon by name. They're on the shelf at all of your favorite liquor stores. Hear that? It's the sound of a good time, and that means Blue Note Bourbon is probably close by. Their award-winning straight bourbon whiskey is smooth no matter how you take it. Blue Note Bourbon. Sounds like a good time.
Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia is home of the 90-day money-back guarantee. If you're looking to buy a new vehicle like a 2023 Kia Telluride, Seltos, or the redesigned Sportage, buy it from Brogdon. If you don't love it, return it, and they'll refund 100% of the purchase price. But if you do love it, you've got a great vehicle with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia at I-35 in Santa Fe or online at olathekia.com. Customer must register vehicle. Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. See kia.com or retailer for details.
Your Kansas City Symphony presents the smooth and sexy sounds of Kenny G Live with the Symphony, March 13th through 15th at the Kauffman Center. Let Kenny G's music blow you away. Grammy Award-winning saxophonist Kenny G's easy style and smooth sound will transport you to Havana and beyond. 3-night shows starting March 13th, presented by Country Club Bank. Get tickets now at kcsymphony.org. That's kcsymphony.org.
Still open.
1 minute.
Economy? Gross. At Dollar Shave Club, you can get a top shelf shave at a regular shelf price. We've been hawking shaving products for years online, and we're excited to bring you the same great quality and low prices at a store near you. From high-quality stainless steel blades to super smooth shave creams, Dollar Shave Club's in the business of making your shave easier. Find Dollar Shave Club in the men's razor aisle. Getting your Dollar Shave Club razor wherever you want. Isn't that great?
30 seconds.
Congratulations to the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. From all of us at Sports Radio 810 WHB. This team has given Kansas City and all of Chiefs Kingdom so much to cheer for.
Kansas City with the world champion.
10 seconds.
Congratulations from your locally owned hometown radio station, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Scott, he's Kirk, we're the Racing Boys. Todd Surprise helping us out here.
If you remember a few weeks ago, we had Kenny Wallace and Ken Schrader on talking about the Turkey Bowl. That was over Thanksgiving weekend.
They were supposed to run that this weekend,
They were supposed to run that this weekend. Well, earlier in the week, they decided with all the rainy weather that they had down there that they were going to divide the Turkey Bowl into 2 weekends, run half the classes this weekend, and then come back in 2 weeks and run the other class. They're still slated to go today. We see they posted on Facebook here a couple of hours ago
Right.
And I'll just read what it says. Everyone knows how much rain we've had in the last couple of days. At 12 noon today, there will be an update on today's test and tune, and an update on the event this weekend, Busch Light Turkey Bowl 16. The track was left hard after the test and tune a couple of weeks ago. Last night, he rolled in. They rolled it before dark, and it was wet, real wet, and now the decision will be made at noon today on the test and tune, and then they'll race on Sunday. So they're not even racing today. They're going to have a test and tune today and then race tomorrow.
And Ken Schrader and Kenny Wallace are going to both be there, right?
Yeah,
they're supposed to be there.
When we did that interview, and when he talked about how we even talked after we got off the air about, boy, you're pushing it, trying to get it in that weekend too, because it might be wet, and we're kind of looking at it now. So
stay tuned to the Facebook page. They'll make a decision at 12 noon today what they're going to do.
Kirk, there's a little bit of controversy going on with the non-wing sprint car racing right now, isn't there?
I saw this post, and I was going through some things yesterday, but this actually came about. And I don't have the page pulled up right now, but there was the Boss Sprint Bandits series, and apparently they were in negotiations with the Power Eye to sell that series here a few weeks back, and they decided not to sell it, and now he's accusing Power Eye of using their name, and on their website, they say it's not for sale. So, that's got it splashed all over their webpage. The Bandit Outlaw Series, Boss, as they call it, splashed across their webpage. It says, not for sale, in big, bold letters. And
Kirk?
He claims that Power Eye is attempting to steal his series name, Bandits Outlaw Series. I would encourage track partners and sponsors to steer clear. And all of that. So I don't exactly know everything.
Just so you know, Jeff just said on the chat room here, he said, no, Schrader and Wallace are running an A mod and B mods. They will not be raced. They will not race tomorrow. That portion of the Turkey Bowl will be run on March 17th and 18th.
There you go. Yeah, because they decided to split it up into 2 weekends, so that portion of it will be 2 weekends.
I want to give a shout-out to Sherry Imperial. She is listening in from Mesa, Arizona today, just so you know.
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to this Boss Sprint Bandits Outlaw Series, he put a big story up on his homepage, and there's been a dispute there over his name being taken. So we don't have both sides of the story there, so we'll just, that they put it out there publicly for everybody to see. So hopefully they get all of that resolved, and things will move on.
Hey, Kirk, tonight Travis Kelce's going to be on Saturday Night Live.
How about that?
Are you going to watch it?
No. I'll be busy.
Why don't you watch Saturday Night Live?
I don't know. I haven't seen Saturday Night Live in years. I haven't watched that show.
I'm going to watch it tonight, aren't you, Todd?
Well, I'm going to tape it. I probably will fall asleep at some point. If I sit down, I don't make it past.
Once your head hits the pillow, you're out.
Yeah, if I sit in my office chair, I'm okay. But don't get me to a recliner or the couch, and at night I'll be. But yes, I'll be recording that, and it ought to be good. I already saw a couple of the
little teasers
that they've put out, and, and it looks like it's going to be fun time for all, especially for Kansas City. Now, if you're a Philadelphia fan, I'm sure they'll have the lowest turnout watching.
Right, nobody's going to watch from Philadelphia
other than the Kelce family.
Right,
so
no doubt. In hour number 2, we're going to have an interview that we did on Monday with Trenton Berry. It's about a 22-minute interview. We're also going to have Ray Cunningham on. We'll talk about some of the Hall of Famers going into the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame tonight. Kirk's going to be the MC of that event. And, again, we are not going to be doing live video there tonight.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But we'll be there. And can't wait to talk to Ray about the who's going into the Hall of Fame coming up in hour number 2. Hey, got a big Xfinity Series race out in Las Vegas today. It's going to be interesting. John Hunter Nemechek has gotten off to a great start. Remember, he used to drive for Kyle Busch in the Truck Series, but now he's staying with Toyota and driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, and he's had a second and now a win in the Xfinity Series. So we'll see with Kyle Busch out there in his own ride and his former driver, John Hunter Nemechek,
2 minutes,
who's off to this great start, how that's all going to shake out with Kyle Busch trying to go for a weekend sweep.
I think John
Hunter's running pretty well right now.
You think he can win the championship this year?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think less than expected last year with Kyle Busch Motorsports running for the championship. I think everybody thought that he would win a title with Kyle Busch in the Truck Series, but it just didn't happen.
It didn't come together.
So it's just going to be interesting to see John Hunter and his old boss Kyle Busch out there duking it out in the Xfinity Series today. We'll be watching.
That'd be pretty good. I'm looking forward to that race, to be honest with you.
And the Cup Series tomorrow, Kyle Busch going for another win. So, it's going to be interesting to see just who else is able to step up. I thought maybe Kyle Larson had a fast race car out of California last weekend, but he had some kind of an electrical problem in his race car, and we never really did see just how fast he was going to be. But Chase Elliott was fast last week, second place finish, but no Chase Elliott today or this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, hour number 2 is going to be coming up. You can watch it on our Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, and RacingBoys.com. You can watch it. We got all 4 different platforms that you can watch it on, and it should be pretty good. We're going to have Trenton Berry on
30
and
seconds.
Ray Cunningham as well. We'll be talking about the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame tonight. Kirk will be the MC of that event, and it should be really good. They don't have any more tickets, do they, Kirk?
I don't know. I think there'd be room. That's a good question. We'll try to dig into that, find out here.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's all been brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the Power Eye Midwest Lightning Sprints. For Todd Surprise, for Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for joining us. We'll see you right around the corner. Hour number 2 coming up.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989,
Thanks,
Rod
man.
End Supply has provided superior products
Thank you,
priced
guys. You guys have a
competitively.
good one.
Whether
All right,
you're
brother, you
racing on the
too.
circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
There's more than one thing to celebrate this time of year in Kansas.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Here at Specialty Sportswear in-house, we do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other add specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that, build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Missouri's must play getaway. Osage National Golf Resort.
3 9-hole courses to choose from at the Lake of the Ozarks in the Osage River Valley. Stay and play packages in our first-class condos. A beautiful clubhouse complete with pro shop and exercise facilities. A large pool for relaxation and families. The Eagle View Sports Bar and Grill. Great wedding facilities. Go online and make your tee time today.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum, and our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy. You are listening to RacingBoys.com, and if you're not, I swear to you, get in your truck or do something, but get the hell out of this country, because you don't belong in it if you don't listen to these fellas.
It's time for America's most unique motorsports show, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Track Talk here. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply. Can't thank Bob Douglas for being a great supporter of the Racing Boys over the years. It's featuring the Power Eye Midwest Lightning Sprints, and they're going to be debuting down at CMS. I think that's on April 29th, right?
April 29th.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So we'll be covering the Power Eye Lightning Sprint Series whenever they have races in around the Kansas City area. And, of course, Rod End Supply, Kansas City-based company, and they, Bob's helped racers for a long time, and just a great guy. And we're proud and honored to have Rod End Supply as a part of our team since day one. They've been with us the whole time.
Since 2003.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that crazy?
So, good guy, and we love Bob, and looking forward to seeing everything that goes on in 2023.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So the Midwest, the Power Eye Midwest Lightning Sprints are 1,000 cc motors. They went from 1,200s to down to 1,000.
They're down to 1,000.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I was aware of that.
I don't think they make as many 1200s.
They don't make as many anymore.
No, because you're getting the same production, I think, almost out of the 1100 now as you were the 12 back in the day. With less weight.
The thousands make just as much horsepower as the 1200s.
With less weight and everything.
You know, my cousin David, back in the day, he had a motorcycle. It was a GS 1200 Suzuki.
Yeah.
And it was a drag bike. And it ran 990s without a slick and without a wheelie bar on it. But this was back in the 80s.
Yeah, like old Don
This
Burlington.
was when motorcycles were not like they are now.
Yeah.
You know, you can go to a motorcycle shop right now and buy a motorcycle that runs 10 seconds.
Yeah. Now, back in the day, like you said, Don Burlington and those boys, those guys, they're crazy getting on a bike going that fast.
And my cousin David, it had it was an electronic air shift on it. So all he had to do is just hit the button, and it would go right through the gears as fast as you could go through the gears. How about that, Kurt?
How about that?
Had a long swing arm on it. Man, that thing was back in the day, and I don't know if you remember this, Todd, but you remember Don Burlington?
Yeah, so I was saying,
Don and my cousin David were like best friends, and they rode motorcycles together.
When I went over and interviewed Don Burlington when I was writing back for the Lakeside Speedway before I started working with Racing Boys, and I went over and talked to Don, and he was telling me some of the stories, back in the day. Just
on motorcycles?
Yeah, just nuts, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a friend of mine who races. I was trying to find his Facebook page, but he races street bikes, just those guys that drop them a half an inch off the ground and scrape all the leathers off of their knee pads as they drive around.
Right.
And he wasn't even he didn't even race motorcycles. We were in high school. So this all came after high school, and had no idea this guy was
And he's real good.
He's real good. And then we also know.
What's his name?
Kurt Klein is his name. And I went to school with him, and he's a year older than I was. And then also you have Hector St. John, who's the world GP champion, who races out of Kansas City, and he's up there at the Heartland Park, Topeka, on the racetrack. He runs a bike club up there. I think it might be a touring series out of there, and they have workouts, or not workouts, but open runs up there all the time. But world GP champion Hector St. John, 6-time champion. That dude, he's shorter than Kirk Elliott and weighs about, I don't know, 110 pounds. They're like
100 pounds less than Kirk.
They're just little guys, man.
They're little bitty dudes,
and they're just made for riding motorcycles or horses. Those guys are just.
How come you never put your camera on you over there?
Oh, I always forget sometimes. Hey guys.
All right.
There we are. I do forget sometimes that I actually do have my own.
You got your own ISO cam over there.
I've got an ISO camera.
Right.
Watching those motorcycles around the road course at Heartland Park, Topeka,
it's insane.
That's pretty crazy, the way those guys were getting around that place.
Yeah. So
laying those bikes over on the side and, getting around those corners.
Yeah, we'll try to get Hector on.
Those guys are nuts.
Listen, I've always got to give a shout-out to Pete. Pete
Checker.
is one of our loyal listeners, and listen, he always brings us tidbits of information. And he said last night Brandon Overton won Spring Nationals round 1 at Waynesboro Raceway in Georgia. Mike Muller ran 3rd. Round 2 of Spring Nationals tonight, Sonoma, Georgia. Watch it on Flow.
I didn't see that on Flow. Did they race that at Flow last night?
I'll probably watch that tonight on Flow.
Yeah. I did. I looked at the Flow schedule last night, and I must have missed that.
Well, let me just take a look at it.
I didn't
Kurt.
see it. Brandon Overton, I told you, last week that he's not guy that's going to be racing
You
for
can't sleep on
championships.
Brandon Overton.
Right, but he's not going to be going for the Lucas Oil Championship or the World of Outlaws Championship. He's an outlaw driver. He's going to go where the money's at.
What do you mean? There's money over there in the Lucas Oil Late
I'm
Model
saying,
Series.
I'm saying if one series has a bigger money race than the other, that's where he's going to go. And obviously he's going to be at Eldora for all the big events there, but he's not going to be racing for the Lucas Oil Late Model Championship this year.
Just so you know, tonight on Flow, there is a lot of races. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 races on Flow tonight.
Yeah. Tonight's a lot busier.
You can't get more for your money than what you get on Flow, can you?
That's
over
fact.
2,500 races.
Yeah, the amount of content for the money you pay,
right?
It's a pretty good deal, no doubt about it.
Yeah, there is plenty going on. If you want to watch hill climb racing, pro mods, NMRA Spring Break Shootout, they've got that going on. They got the Battle of the Stars at All America going on tonight as well. They're going to be racing at Hickory, Sonona, the Spring Nationals at Sonona. March Modified Madness at Lincoln. So Smart Modifieds at Florence Motor Speedway, I believe that is. Bounty Hunters No Prep Nationals. Man, I like watching drag racing, Kurt. Do you
They've got a lot of drag racing on Flow.
They do a lot of drag racing on Flow.
So lots more on the card tonight. I was kind of disappointed to see that World of Outlaws event, the late model event, get rained out this weekend down at Smoky Mountain Speedway, but they rescheduled that in a couple of weeks. So they just weren't able to get it in this weekend in Tennessee. A couple of other big events this weekend. We've got the Indy cars opening up the season at St. Petersburg on the streets there. NBC will be carrying that race at 11 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. And the Formula One opens up the 2023 campaign. You can watch that race tomorrow morning on ESPN from Bahrain as the F1 season kicks off tomorrow. And, of course, NASCAR Xfinity race today at Las Vegas, Cup Series race tomorrow.
Yeah. And just a reminder, you can watch the World of Outlaws sprint cars tomorrow night and Monday night at Volusia Raceway Park. It's Bike Week down there, and there's going to be a lot of people in the grandstands for that race down there.
And Dirt Vision will be where you watch that.
Right, Dirt Vision. Right. Dirt Vision does a great job.
Did I see on Flow, they've got something at Houston Speedway, the Sunoco National at Houston Speedway. What is that going on up there?
What's that again?
Snowcross Nationals at Houston's. They had, supposedly it was on last night. I didn't see it.
I just want to remind him also that they're going to be running the Extreme Series at Southern Illinois Center on March 10th. So
next week, or later this week.
And not only that, this is on Dirt Vision as well. They're going to be running Port Royal Speedway on March 10th as well. And then Southern Illinois Center, they'll be running the Extreme Series there on March 11th. That's my birthday, Kurt.
Early happy birthday to you.
Right.
And you said they're going to have races at Lincoln Speedway this weekend out in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody posted that a little bit earlier. So, yeah, it's starting to kick up here. We're into March, and business will be picking up very quickly now.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot of things to talk about.
More than we need.
We got Ray ready whenever you're ready there.
Yeah. All right, Kirk, let's bring in our next guest.
Ray Cunningham is joining us right now. There's nobody that really knows any more than Ray about these inductees that we're putting into the Hall of Fame tonight. Ray, how you doing this morning?
Doing good, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing pretty good, Ray. Tonight's the big night for the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do it live tonight, but it's going to be a great night. A lot of inductees tonight. A lot of great names going in tonight.
Yes, yeah, this should be another fine Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's the 19th. Of course, we had to skip a couple of years ago when we couldn't do it during COVID. But other than that, we've gone straight through. And so this will represent the 2022 induction Hall of Fame class.
Right. One of my favorite people that's getting in tonight is Freddie Whistler, man. Freddie Whistler and Fred Renault, back in their day, they were really on their game, and they won a lot of races back in those days.
Yes, fast Freddie Whistler from Independence, Missouri, a great champion, the first champion of I-70 Speedway in the late models. That first year, they actually had 2 track champions. They had the late model division, which Fred Whistler won, and then the super modified division, which John Backlund won. That first year, believe it or not, in this area, we had tracks running super modifieds weekly at the Topeka Fairgrounds, Olympic Stadium, and I-70 Speedway just here in Kansas City, and then also racing at Riverside and Lakeside. So back then we were a mecca of speed, and when they added I-70, which really became a show palace. You know about that, Scott, one of your favorite all-time tracks.
Right.
The paved half-mile oval, but Freddie Whistler really did take to that track like a duck to water and was the first champion, and over the years raced against many greats that came to Kansas City to challenge our local boys who were very good on the high bay.
Right. Let me ask you this, because, Carl Edwards said this in an interview that he did on Metro Sports one day. We didn't have Kansas Speedway. We didn't have Gateway. And I-70 Speedway was the big deal in the Midwest, wasn't it?
It certainly was. I mean, it was comparable to Salem and Winchester in Indiana, which were very much fabled tracks, and then, of course, Bristol Motor Speedway, but of course, Bristol doesn't have the banking that Salem, Winchester, and I-70 had. But yes, I mean, it became a real show palace for stock car racing, and many of the greats that would become NASCAR superstars, they ran at I-70 before they were known, nationally racing in NASCAR's premier division.
People like Benny Parsons, Darrell Waltrip, there was a lot of great names. That Dick Trickle was maybe one of the most famous names, and Larry the Legend won a lot of races out there as well.
Larry Phillips and Freddie Whistler, some of our local boys, and even Tiger Bob Williams, a super modified legend, but when he drove Gary Emmig's late model, of course, he won the Missouri 300. So we had great representation. Dave Wall was associated with many of these racers that are going in today, including Fred Whistler, and, of course, the great Terry Bivens, and you know how it progressed from there, and Rick Beebe also going in today. Yeah. We have really fine late model racers that will be represented in this year's class.
I don't know if you know this, Ray, but the last pavement race that Rick Beebe won, he drove my modified out at I-70 Speedway for his last pavement win.
Wow, that's awesome. I loved watching the modifieds out there at I-70 and the trucks, and, of course, the late models being the premier division. And we know that was one of the places where we saw Clint Boyer on pavement, of course, before he went to NASCAR.
I don't know if you know it, but the first time that Clint Boyer ever raced at I-70 Speedway, he drove my modified, and he qualified second. You remember that, Kurt?
I remember that very well.
Yeah.
Carl Edwards drove your truck one time, too. I remember that.
Yeah, he took out the whole field on the first lap.
Yeah. I was watching. Yeah, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Rick Beebe a little bit. If there was anybody associated more with the ASCA out of Kansas City, it'd have to be Rick Beebe. I mean, he raced against the very best that pavement late model racing had to offer back in a glory time for the ASA, and he was able to win a couple of races too.
Hey, Ray, let me ask you this a little bit. Rick Beebe was known as an ASA driver, and whenever they ran that ASA race out there at I-70 Speedway, the fans came to watch Rick Beebe race, didn't they?
Well, he's one of their own, and I mean, you know, he represented. I remember all those races, watching him, of course, locally on TNN. You know, all the ASA races were on TNN back in that time. And it was a big deal to be in the ASA. I mean, when you're talking about an organization that had Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson, during that time, Adam Petty,
right.
It also had the greats that we've discussed that kind of cross over between, you know, your Fred Whistler and then later guys like Rick Beebe. And you brought up the White Knight, Trickle. The first time I ever saw him was at I-70 driving his Mustang. The purple and white 99, you know, with the A&W root beer sponsorship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Rick Beebe continued on an incredible tradition. And, I mean, I think we all pumped up our chest when we saw Rick Beebe race representing Kansas City in the ASA, winning at Cedar Rapids, also winning at Berlin, you know, right there in the heart of Michigan, where so many of those great drivers came from, some which obviously later raced in NASCAR. But Rick Beebe showed well wherever he ran.
Right.
Was a Rookie of the Year, finished as high as 5th place points. You know, I mean, he traveled the nation when he did that. I think he estimated that he raced between 35 and 40 different states during his career.
Yeah. And he was also good in a dirt late model back in the day.
And he won it.
In his early days,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. His first late model win, I believe, came at the old Lakeside Speedway in the late model division.
Right.
And he still races today. Matter of fact, he's racing this weekend. So.
Hey, let me ask you this, Ray. Do you think that Lakeside could be successful if they bring back late models to Lakeside Speedway? Do you think that could possibly work?
Well, you know, now that I-80 is out of the loop, unfortunately, we certainly didn't want to see that venue go. But Lakeside, we know of the tradition, we know of the history, we know of the passion, Scott, for late model racing in this area.
Right.
We just, for a while, I mean, it took a while to sprint car racing back in this area, even though we know the history and tradition there. I don't see why with the right set of circumstances we couldn't make late model racing again an important part of the landscape of racing here in Kansas City.
I agree.
Ray, the next inductee I want to talk about is Jerry Gilbert. He had the famous T-Bucket car, number 19, back in the 60s, and he and his driver Gordon Woolley almost won. They should have won the 1962 Knoxville Nationals until a bad magneto went out, and Jerry Richard ended up winning this race. But he died at an early age. Jerry Gilbert was a big factor in super modified racing back in the 60s.
Yeah, so people were involved in racing in the Heartland, not just Kansas City, but in the Heartland. But, of course, he came from Lee Summit, Missouri. Jerry Gilbert was well known, and you've got to be a hell of a mechanical guy and a great owner to get drivers like Gordon Woolley, the 1963 IMCA national champion, and the great Judd Larson, one of the finest drivers, originally from Texas, but I know Kansas City loves to adopt not Jan Opperman, another great driver from later, but Judd Larson, who did such a great job in the T-Bucket as well as Gordon Woolley. But, yeah, just think about the history, more history for super modified racing in Kansas City if that car would have won, because the very next year it was Greg Weld as a 19-year-old that won the Knoxville Nationals, and the next 2 years after that it was Kenny Weld. So you had the T-Bucket also from this area, and shows you the dominance that the Kansas City drivers had during that time in super modified racing. and were very well known for it. And, of course, we know terms like the Kansas City Mafia, which was used when the Kansas City racers went up to Knoxville and kicked some tail. And Jerry Gilbert was very much of that scene, racing a huge tragedy that was very much like later Jesse Hockett, unfortunately being electrocuted to death while working in his shop. But at only the age of 33, but what a master. And everybody that you ever talk to, or if you ever see a picture of that T-Bucket with flames or without flames, it was a fast car. I mean, one at all the tracks in this area, including Knoxville, the Missouri State Fairgrounds, Topeka, Lakeside, all those venues, Olympic. That car raced and was highly successful.
And that car got destroyed after it fell off the trailer, right? When they were towing it someplace?
Yeah, it's one of those deals in the open trailer days where you hear the stories about an unfortunate incident, and that car, they were towing it up and down the highway like they had been, and it fell off the trailer. It was damaged so significantly they couldn't race it again. And for many years, I heard that it sat outside Jerry Gilbert's shop, and I have no idea what happened to the remains of it. It'd be something where you'd love to see someone like John Lane, who I think at this point, he was partnered with Mark Randall. They did many great restorations over their time. Who wouldn't love to see that car again? But maybe at some point somebody could do a tribute car, because that was one of the top race cars of the super modified era, the T-Bucket of Jerry Gilbert.
I want to step back to one thing that you said about the Mafia was very much into the motorsport scene in Kansas City back in the day, weren't they?
Oh, the actual Mafia?
Yes.
Or the Kansas City Mafia?
The Kansas City Mafia.
The Kansas City Mafia is a racing group, of course, and that included so many great drivers that went up and dominated at Knoxville and actually caused quite a stir, as we know, and because of their dominance. And think about it this way, Scott. You're a racer of note. You're a mature individual, and you got guys like the Weld brothers, wet behind the ears, teenagers, coming in and showing you how things are going to be done.
Right.
And they did it quite often. And when they won 3 straight Knoxville Nationals, like I say, it would have been 4 straight for Kansas City, if that. But really, actually, then we have to look at 1966, where Ted Hall, very much associated with the Welds, he won the Knoxville Nationals with another driver who raced out of Kansas, Jay Woodside. And then, of course, in 67, Thad Dosher, he races for Jack Cunningham. They win the Knoxville Nationals. So think about that streak that would have been if we would have also included 1962. And then in 68, it's Rayleigh Goodwin.
Right.
What a run for our area at the Knoxville Nationals. The most prestigious event of that time in super modified racing, and now, of course, sprint car racing.
I hate to put you on the spot, but who was the better driver of the Weld family? Who was the best of the best?
Well, now, I, as a youngster growing up, remember Greg and, of course, Kenny, and later their younger brother, Ricky, very well. I didn't get to see Jerry race too much. I remember him more as a promoter as a child. But a lot of people say that Jerry was the purest driver of all of them, though obviously when you're Greg Weld and you're a USAC national champion, you run the Indy 500. When you're Kenny Weld winning 4 Knoxville Nationals, I mean, they were – the thing about the Welds is they were versatile because they could also get under the hood.
Right.
They knew as much about the race cars as they did about racing. So I think it's hard to say exactly who was the purest talent, but a lot of people said that Jerry Weld, who came along first and ran with his revolutionary flying suitcase back in the 1950s, Jerry Weld did set the standard for the brothers. Obviously, Taylor, their dad, Pappy, I mean, he'd been racing since Olympic Stadium since the 1930s. So those guys came about their mechanical prowess, honestly, obviously, with the family of just incredible racers and mechanical minds.
Right.
So, but from what I've heard from different individuals who know more about it than me because they were there on site, many felt that Jerry Butchwell was as pure a driver as was, and also very charismatic, and later became a great promoter as well as a racer.
I don't know if you know this, but my mom's boyfriend, Vernon Pittman, who owned Vernon Pittman Moving Company, sponsored Jerry Weld back in the mid-'60s, and that was my first race that I went to is at Lakeside Speedway, 1966, to watch Butch race.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we're showing that picture of the T-Bucket right now for those of you watching online. The Gordon Woolley, I assume that's the driver behind the wheel, but it's the picture with the flames on it right now. That was quite a race car. Hey, I want to ask you about Tom Bierman. He was more of a drag racer. Tell us about Tom Bierman.
Well, Tom Bierman's one of those crossover guys. So he starts when he was in high school. He was born in 41. In 1957, he got built his first drag car. They called it Tough Hombre. He became the fastest guy on the city, was known for his drag racing prowess, and then he became friends with Dave Wall, and that's how he moved over to the circle track side, because then he learned about late models, and he was involved in stock car racing, found out that it wasn't his cup of tea driving them. He was more comfortable in the straight line. But then he was an owner that had drivers like Super Joe Wallace, Freddie Whistler again, Terry Bibbins raced for him. And then he went back to drag racing, and he got involved with Skip Richardson. I know you guys know Skip,
yep,
who's been involved with CARB, been the president, been involved in racing, and they ran drag cars together. He also built like roll cages for race cars. He was and classic cars. Tom Bierman was just a gearhead that loved racing. At one time, I guess he was in charge of the parts department at a Chevy dealership in town and could always hook people up with the best stuff of that time. And just one of those guys that was involved in racing virtually almost his entire adult life.
And, of course, we've had Jerry Cobert and Lonnie Farley on the show, so we talked about those guys over the last couple of weeks, but we didn't have a chance to have Bob Reber on. He's played such a big part of CARB, and he's been there all
Bob
along. He's a flagman up at I-35 now, I think.
He's the mainstay. He's been around CARB forever.
Oh, yeah. Since 1978, he's been involved with CARB with his wife, and he has been, I believe, just about during that time, well, no, a little later, is when he became the secretary and in charge of memberships. He's still doing that role for CARB. He's also been blood bank chairman. He's been on the board of directors. And then you talked about how he's been a flagman. He also has worked on fire and safety. Others. He also worked, his first job in racing actually was working at the pit shack at I-70 with his mom.
Right.
And that was his first job at the track. But, yeah, that's a guy that's just been a part of racing in this area. He truly is an institution.
Yep.
And any comments you'd like to add quickly about Jerry Cobert and also Lonnie Farley, who we've had on as guests here over the last couple of weeks?
Well, Jerry Cobert, that's another guy who's been around racing forever. His brother, Bernie, you guys might remember him too, another fine stock car racer. Jerry won his first title in stock car racing back in 1968. And guys, guess who he beat by, I believe it was 1 point for his first ever track title at Topeka in the stock cars.
Who would that
be?
Beat
his good buddy, Tim Carrickstaff.
Oh, yeah.
And that was back in 1968. At that time, I believe he was like 18 years of age or something of that nature. And anyway, he raced in the old IMCA days, when they diced it up on all the fairgrounds ovals. He and his brother Bernie, and And then, of course, he raced in the late models. He had a relationship with Darrell Waltrip. And that's just a guy that, between him and his brother, I mean, they're definitely institutions coming out of Topeka and racing. And then Lonnie Farley, what a career he's had as well, too. He ran in the old super modified days. He ran a sprint car. He, of course, raced stock cars. He won championships in, like, every division he raced. And he was truly an institution up there in northwest Missouri, running at Savannah, where he won track titles in just about every class. Lonnie Farley, another great gentleman who raced for years and years, and I believe, I'm trying to think how many years he went at the Northwest Missouri State Fairgrounds in his last one. I believe it was like 40 years.
50 years.
Wins. Think about that, because then he got involved in that Show Me Vintage series, and he was racing that too and winning in that. And so, Lonnie Farley, I believe, born in 1941 or somewhere right in that area. An institution of racing, and raced back in the day, with guys like Dee Zelmer and Groovy, Ron Leftholtz, guys like that in the super modified ranks. And, another great legend that we get to honor today.
Hey, and of course, everybody knows what Danny the Dude has done during his career.
The all-time winningest driver.
If there was ever a Hall of
Knoxville.
Famer, he's it.
Right, no doubt.
I don't think anybody can argue at all that in the era that we have just come out of, that the dude was as good as anybody, period, in wing sprint car racing. Just look at his record. I mean, the all-time winningest driver, of course, at Knoxville Raceway, more track titles. His track titles, there's so much longevity that he won his first one in 1986. He won his last one in 2016. 11-time champion. That's 30 years, boys, between his championships there at Knoxville. And then you go into winning 4 Knoxville Nationals, also repping our area greatly at the Nationals, and then winning the World of Outlaws titles, and even won an IROC at Texas Speedway.
Yep, no doubt. Would you consider Danny the Dude Lasowski the greatest sprint driver maybe that came from Kansas City?
Well, definitely. I mean, now your old-timers are going to argue for their eras, and I think it's all about the era. I do believe that in, the era of from the late 80s to up into the 2000s, there has been no equal in this area of the Dude. I mean, he was the most dominant driver here, but in all honesty, he's one of the most dominant drivers, period, in the sport of sprint car racing.
No doubt.
It's just not that he was here. I mean, he stands with the greats. And when you go back and you look at your Rayleigh Goodwins and your Weld brothers and the Williams and all these different racers we've had that we talked about during these eras, Junior Howard, I mean, in his era, he more than held his own. His dad was a great racer, and Tom Corbin, his uncle. I mean, what a racing. And then Brian Brown. I mean, you want to talk about a racing family from this era?
No doubt.
And, from this area, and how many years? I mean, you're talking about going all the way back to well over 60 years of racing in that family, and what it meant to not only this area, but nationally speaking.
Yeah.
That's what's so incredible about them. And the Dude, in a family of accomplished racers, he is the best.
I've got to say this. Boo Boo Badami was probably one of the great racers from this area as well, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. We had, in the early days, when we did those stories for Racing Boys that I also did from Legends of the Past, where we talked about Vito Kalia and Boo Boo Badami and George Finney. Those guys were nationally famous, all Hall of Famers. I mean, yes, incredible racers. And Boo Boo Badami, I mean, also those guys are pioneers, Scott. There wasn't really – they represent racing where they showed up at track, had to make homemade cars. It's incredible what they did, but that also shows you just how rich the tradition of racing in this area is. And Kurt, being from Iowa, he remembers all those Kansas City area racers coming up and taking no prisoners at his beloved Knoxville Raceway.
That's right. Dick Sutcliffe, another driver, we haven't talked about. I would argue that Kansas City, the metro area and the surrounding areas, produced more great race car drivers than any metro area in the country over the years.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that. I would say that PA has probably developed more great racers out there than maybe the Midwest has. But
I don't know.
I don't know. But the Midwest, around this Kansas City area, it's pretty close to PA. Wouldn't you say that, Ray?
Yeah, and it's ironically, you mentioned Pennsylvania, because guess what Kenny Weld did? He left Kansas City, where he was the most dominant racer, and then went to Pennsylvania and set that place on its ear, too.
And that Weikert livestock car, I remember that.
Right. And he drove the heavies. He built and drove the heavies and won in them. And then, of course, we know about the Batmobile. So he took the Kansas City flavor of racing and the history and the tradition and everything of that family, took it to Pennsylvania, and then also did an incredible job there. So, but I understand what Scott's saying about Pennsylvania. And we've had many drivers over the years move to Pennsylvania, including Junior Parkinson, one of our local guys here.
Yeah.
Junior Parkinson went to Pennsylvania, and that's where he said he improved greatly because of the level of competition and the fact that so many of those racers in that area. But you also got to look, like I said, back in the day at what happened in the Kansas City area and all the tracks that were prominent during that time in super modified racing.
Right.
And it's just incredible. I mean, Olympic Stadium, Riverside Stadium. Hey, have you guys seen, speaking of Riverside, have you seen the new Red X?
Yes.
The great murals they have in there?
Is it open now?
Yeah, it's open. The new Red X is open. And let me tell you, I used to move a lot of the antiques for Mr. Young. He has a building over there. Remember where the drive-ins used to be over there?
Yes.
There's a building over there that is completely stuffed full of antiques. And I used to move a lot of them in there for Mr. Young back in the day when I was in the moving business.
So that new Red X building is right on the site of
it's
where
on
Riverside
the site of where
Stadium.
the racetrack was
That's
at.
right.
Right.
Yes, they've actually built that on the racetrack from, yes. How cool is that? And then they have all these great tributes, of course, to him and the murals and his son continuing on the tradition there. But, yeah. So Riverside, Olympic, the old Lakeside, the new Lakeside, the old I-70, the new I-70. I mean, Kansas City's tradition in racing overall, I think, does compare very favorably to any market in the nation.
No question
overall, when we look at the incredible list of tracks, racers, we have the board track here. When board racing was the greatest spectacle in racing, we had our own racetrack in that regard, too.
1923, wasn't that? 1923?
Yeah. And guys like, and then you got to bring up the Galatas and the great Tony Galata, who would have won the Indy 500 himself one year, except for the fact that they had a fuel issue, and I think it relegated him to third place. But that shows you once again the history, the tradition of Kansas City. And back in the day, guys moved to Kansas City to race too. Jay Woodside came up from Wichita. You had Judd Larson coming from Texas to race in Kansas City. And Olympic Stadium, where A.J. Foyt won his first USAC race.
1957.
Yes. I mean, once again, that shows you what a place Olympic was. That was a show palace where people would come from all over the nation to compete because they knew the finest would race there, including A.J. Foyt.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, we're going to celebrate all of that Kansas City history today. I can't wait. You got me juiced up now after talking to you here. So we appreciate you coming on and look forward to seeing you all out there tonight.
Yes, we'll see you later. Thanks again for you guys have been so supportive of the Carb Hall of Fame, and we really appreciate everything, Scott and Kirk, what you've done for the Hall of Fame and helping it, prosper. It's obviously another nonprofit group, but it really couldn't do it without individuals like yourself helping us preserve this racing history that's so important.
Well, they couldn't do it without you, Ray, for compiling all this information.
No doubt about it.
Thank you so much for doing that.
You bet, sir.
All right,
you gentlemen, have a great day, and we'll see you out here at the Carb Hall of Fame.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, we'll see you then.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, Ray.
Take care.
There he is.
Man, that guy's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. And, I was thinking...
Does anybody have more knowledge about the local racing scene than Ray?
I was thinking of Bud Honeycutt. Bud Honeycutt, who wrote a book up on
That's
the wheel.
true. Bud does. Right.
Has a lot of great stories to tell as well. So, Bud, if you're listening out there, we know you have a lot of stories to tell. And you were so great putting it all in a book.
Right.
That we still have. So.
Yeah, we still have that book.
Thank you, Bud Honeycutt.
Jim said, this is just my opinion. I think the most talented driver of the Weld brothers was Greg. When he showed up at the racetracks and was focused, nobody was going to beat him. So that's what Jim's opinion is. Want to say hi to Melvin. He's checking in from Miamisburg, Ohio, Kurt.
How about that? Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening in to Ohio. Kenny Weld was a different driver than you would ever meet. He was so smart and analytical. I remember talking to him on many occasions in his later years in life, and he could articulate things about race cars, and
he was a genius.
Was a great thinker, a genius.
He was the first person to ever create a CNC cylinder head machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was as fascinating a racing figure as I think I've ever known.
All right, Kirk, we need to get into this Trenton Berry interview.
Trenton Berry is he and Austin Kruger head up the RacingDirt.com. They carry all of the big modified races across the country, including this weekend out at Rocket Raceway Park in Petty, Texas, the season opener for the USMTS. And when we spoke with Trenton earlier this week, they weren't quite sure if they were going to get anything in this weekend, but he talks about what's coming up this weekend and all about modified racing and whatever else we talked about. Here's a portion of that conversation from earlier this week on Mostly Motorsports.
Joining us now from RacingDirt.com, the guys that cover modified racing better than anybody in the business. Trenton Berry joins us now. Hey, Trenton, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I hope we get to make this trip to Texas. The weather looks a little suspicious, but it's on its schedule for right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So this is the 13th annual USMTS Summit Spring Nationals. That's at Rocket Raceway Park in Petty, Texas. Talk about that racetrack a little bit, Trenton.
Yeah, so it's a newer place, kind of in the continuum of dirt tracks all across the country, and it kind of ran off and on for a few years. And Kevin Sestair was partners with Kevin Rogers at RPM there in Crandall, a track I know you guys know a bunch about. And
right.
Anyway, didn't work out. Kevin Sestair was looking to purchase a track, and end of the year, 2 seasons ago, was able to make a deal on this one. And it's just outside of Dallas there. I don't know, about an hour and a half or so, really close to Paris, Texas. No passport needed to go to Paris.
Right.
But it's a really good racetrack. It kind of fought for consistency. It was just kind of off and on. And anyway, Sestaire's really good. He's a successful plumber. He's got a really good business out of the DFW area. So this is kind of a next step for him. You know, he's a good racer for many, many years, but it's proven to be a pretty exceptional track owner.
Yeah. You know, it appears to me that Terry Phillips has really got his act together right now. Tell me what's going on with his team, and he made some changes over the winter, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Brand new race cars. They're called Bloodline race cars. The frames are built out of Central Missouri, and it's Terry's design. And it was a surface plate and a jig that his dad built cars with for years. Was kind of their baseline, and those apparatuses went up to Central Missouri to where his frames are being built. And Bloodline race cars. It's a pretty cool name and pays tribute to his dad. I'd expect them to come out good. They haven't put one on the track just quite yet, but they're looking to do so this weekend. I so hope we can get this. This is kind of a weird weekend for dirt track racing. USMTS really can get a good lion's share of the attention all across the country this particular weekend. There's not a whole lot going on, which is strange, I feel like. So I'm really hopeful we can get a couple of these days in. So we'll see what the promoters decide how risky they want to be right off the bat. And with the kind of money that's on the line, I'm glad I'm not in their situation, and whatever decision they go with, I'm behind them 100%.
Do we know yet, besides Terry, who's going to be driving these Bloodline race cars? Who else is going to be behind the wheel of these cars?
Yeah, there's a few different ones out there. Brandon Gibbons is going to be in one right off the bat. Terry's got some people outside of the USMTS world that help him and he races with. Going to have a couple different ones. They're going to be out of the area that we probably won't ever see here. But people around here, Brandon Gibbons will be in one. Dylan McCown's going to be in one to start off the year as well, even though he's going to split time between a modified and a late model. But those two for sure. And I'm sure I know there were a few more, but details are kind of quiet on where these cars are promised, at least the early ones. But I think, guys, he had, and don't quote me on this exactly, but I think 7 or 8 orders right away, just like right when he announced it. So that's going to be a lot for somebody that's not going to run I guess kind of a production chassis shop, but not really. I mean, it's not, these cars aren't going to take precedent over his racing program for sure, So
yeah.
You're going to be kind of get them when you can type deal.
March 23rd through the 25th, it's Racing Dirt's USMTS King of America, presented by Shock Hitch. Talk about that race, and that's one of your biggest races of the year, isn't it?
Come on with it, yes. And this race needs a big rebound, guys. They fought all kinds of weather issues last year, and that was JR and Katie Sartain's first year owning that Humboldt Speedway, and that whole thing all around was tough, but because the weather was so bad, and that can happen, around here this time of year. But what's really weird is it's not been typical that Humboldt's had to battle just a ton of weather. You might lose a night, but you don't typically lose 2 and have one being so rough. And a lot of times you don't have to run double shows to get stuff in, and it just had all kinds of things going against it last year, and it was all based on the fact that the weather sucked, and it sucked the whole weekend.
Right.
So I'm looking for a big recovery in that event, and JR and Katie and John Allen that's helping run the place. They certainly deserve that.
Yeah.
It'd be nice for them to hit a lick and get a little bit of success in their new venture with that racetrack, because that's a place that's delivered year after year after year. So it'd be nice for them to be able to feel that and have a good taste in their mouth for the event. It's neat because it's, the Battle at the Bull Ring is running right there together with it. So
right.
It's not only a huge modified race, which it is. I think it's, you look at races all across the country, the King of America has become a top 5 modified race. No question about it. So, to add these B mods with it too are pretty cool, and it's just awesome. March and Humboldt around our part of the world, speaking from where I'm at all the way to where you guys are at and beyond, it's just kind of right. And that's just what happens. Humboldt really dominates in March.
Right. Tell me a little bit about the new owners and your relationship with them. They seem like good people.
Great. Yeah. And so they started out and had purchased 81 over in Wichita.
Right.
Oh, it's probably, they bought it from Sea Ray. It was probably 4 years ago, I'm thinking now.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but I think probably 4 years ago, and made a ton of improvements. I don't know if you guys have been to 81 much lately, but they made a ton of improvements over the off season last year to this year. Kept working, and they've got those new. They've got the new lights in, like they have at Knoxville. The LEDs that come on and off, and you can sync it to music. And,
right.
It's going to be quite the deal there at 81 Speedway. So that's that. They purchased Humboldt over the off season last year, and John Allen works with them in both endeavors, as he's kind of slowed down his, behind the wheel racing personally. So. And John's adapted very well, and I knew he would because John's a people person,
right?
And he deals so well with the public, and he's not only good with the fans and media like us. He's great with us, but he's so well respected with the racers. Just the time that he put in,
right.
The level that he raced at. He's just built in having the racers' respect, which is worth a ton. So. JR and Katie did a good job aligning him in their program. So yeah, they're just a great people. JR has the ability, and it'll all just depend on how long he wants to stick with it. And he's saying and doing all the right things right now. JR will have the ability to be the next great promoter in American racing, short track racing. And I know I'm saying a lot right there, but he has the ability to do things. For one, Wichita is such a great racing market. It's one of the greatest racing markets in the Midwest. It's probably, you're going to look Kansas City, St. Louis, Omaha, which they're struggling for a real kingpin racetrack now with the loss of I-80, but and I'm going to put Wichita right there with it. Just places that can do things that other places can't, and they have such a track record. Wichita's such a racing town and a huge population that there's a lot that can go on there that other places can't. And JR's not afraid one bit to stick his neck out and lay it on the line to put on a quality show, whether it's something done at a level that hadn't been done there before, whether it's bringing in new series, new ideas. There's not a thing in the world that man's not willing to try. And I have a ton of respect for him for what he's done, what he's put into racing. And it's just going to depend. JR is going to be able to set his own pace at this and do this as long as he wants. But man, if he puts him together a good 20 plus year run at this, which he certainly could, he's young and ambitious. He's going to be a name that everybody across the country is going to know.
Do you think 81 races different with the wall around it now than it did without the wall?
Yep, but I don't think that it's any better or worse, but it is different. Yeah, yep, for sure. For sure it is, and honestly, it kind of needed that wall. Just there was a lot of things that were just a little too wide open around there. Too much access, too many people able to move. I always felt like there was a little too much liability around there, to be honest. But I'm not one to tell somebody how to run their business. But clearly, JR and John and Katie thought the same thing, right? Or they wouldn't have made the changes that they did too. Just a lot better having that there now. I don't think it's bad to establish boundaries in facilities, but yeah, I think it's different, but it's not bad. It's that track races so well, so consistently. I love going to 81. I love going to Humboldt. They're two of my favorite places.
Yeah. On May 4th through the 6th, you guys are going to be at Lakeside Speedway for the Jayhawk Modified Classic. Where does that race rank with USMTS?
So it's new for USMTS,
Right.
Obviously, the name's not. I'm so glad. I mean, to me, if you're going to run that race, that's the name for it, right? Like, you're going to run that in Kansas City. That's exactly what that thing needs to be called. Although I would, if they would have wanted to call it the Chiefs Modified Classic, I'd have been okay with that too.
Right, me too. Yeah.
It's on NASCAR weekend too.
Oh yeah, it's on NASCAR weekend. They're no dummies. So, man, I think it's it's going to be one of the big ones out there for sure. I don't know. There's no history with it for the series, so the name's awesome. I'm glad they brought it back. I know things come and go. I'm glad the name didn't die, though. And I'm awful appreciative of Darren, being willing to do this and kind of bring that forward and help on that end of things. So I love it. I love racing in Kansas City. I always have. So I think it's terrific. We get a 3-day show there at Lakeside.
Yeah, a big weekend, August 3rd. And then August 4th, you've got the second annual USMTS Bushwhacker race out at I-70 Speedway. And then the following night, it's the 7th annual USMTS Grant Youngins Memorial presented by Quick Shop. That's a big weekend here in Kansas City, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. So a few things on that, right? That's the only weekend of the year that we don't have a 3-day race somewhere. And just the way it worked out with all those events, Grant's race had always been a 1-day race, and you didn't want to lose that. I-70, although it is a great racetrack, I'm just going to tell you guys,
it's fast
on that race last year. It's very fast. It's very demanding. It is not at a place right now that can support a 10,000 to win race, and I'm just being as honest as I can be with you. The dollars and cents aren't there, and we wrote the check on our half to prove that and back that up and to be able to make that statement last year. So that thing's running for about half the purse this year. We're partnered with the racetrack, which was a great thing as well. Fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to go back there, but going back under a lot different circumstances this year, which would have been the only way that it would have had the possibility to make it work. And Lucas Oil Speedway, they run so many multi-day races. I've always really enjoyed the fact that we can kind of roll in there and out in one day for big money, and they're putting that money on the line again with the 10,000 to win there on Saturday night. I do enjoy the fact that most of the season on the broadcast side of things we get to set at a place for multiple days, so we're not having to set up and tear down. But it's not the end of the world to have 1-day races. Although that it's going to be like 120 degrees that week right there too.
Right,
so
no doubt.
That'll be the week that it'll all come to a head. But just again, fortunate to be able to go to great racetrack. That's the key to that whole schedule this year. I mean, if you look at it, there's a ton of races. There's actually more races on the schedule than there were last year. It doesn't look like it though, but just the way that it visually is laid out. But man, you're just talking about home run places that you get to go race, and that's pretty special.
We're going to miss Bryce Hall out there, but I see the USMTS hired Eric Chesterman to step in there. That makes a lot of sense. Good guy.
Yeah, Eric will do a very good guy. He'll do a great job, and he's going to kind of be a day-to-day point contact for a lot of the racetracks for USRA, and going to work with that ARMS series, the American Racer Modified Series. Regional tour that's out of Texas, that's going to be a lot of his responsibility as well. I know just from talking to Todd and Eric, and then going to be the voice of the series too. And on our side of things, selfishly, right, it was important for us to have somebody that was good and easy to work with, that we could that would do well with the TV side of things. And Eric's done that for years. We've worked with him at both 81 and Wichita, and he's went a few other places on the road with us on off weekends. We've brought him along and had him at some different events here and there. He'll flourish. He'll be just fine. He's a pro. So lucky to have him. It's a lot of times it's hard to find good broadcasters that are wanting to do this stuff full time, and he was rip-roaring and ready to go. So it'll be a good deal. And I will miss Bryce. I will tell you that. But he had the chance to take a step there for his career and his future on what on the outside looks like a really great endeavor with a racetrack that's coming back to life that they put several $1 million into a renovation close to his hometown. So
yeah,
I'm pumped for Bryce too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, I don't know if you know it, but I'm going to be shooting some video for Flow this year.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm going to be.
That's news to me.
I'm going to be doing a little bit of running around and shooting some video for Flow this year, and I've got my first date coming up at RPM Speedway out there in Kansas.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, out in Hayes.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's a cool place.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's a really cool place.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
What are you going to be? What are you going to be doing with some sprint car action this year? Are you still going to be doing OCRS, Rebel Series? Give us a breakdown on what you're going to be doing on the sprint cars.
Yeah, some, a lot of the Sooner and a little bit of the Mid-South. Just filling in when available. You know what I mean? And I make no bones about it to anybody that asks. The USMTS drives the ship for us, and with that comes the responsibility at Staley's 2 racetracks in Iowa for the events that need to be done there. Like that comes first for us. That always has come first, and as long as we're partnered with him, we'll always come first. Even if rainouts dictate changes and those go on top of other things, that is the needle mover for our company.
Is there
it will continue to be treated that way. But so everything else just kind of slides in where it fits in, you know. And we've been fortunate to have a lot of great relationships there. So luckily, just stick handles a lot of that staffing, scheduling, and things. And so, you know, off the top of my head, I can't tell you if we're going to have 30, 40, 50 sprint car races, but I know there's going to be a lot of them on there this year.
Right.
Are there changes going on at Webster City with that racetrack up there? What's going on up there, Hamilton County?
You know, they talked about it, but I don't think they went to work on it over the winter. I know they discussed maybe shortening it up a little bit, but they put a ton of work in at Mason City over the years and really got it dialed in. So I think Webster, last I'd heard, was going to kind of stand pat as it was.
Okay. Mason City.
You know, Staley never. He's always looking for the next thing to make his program better, right? So I've heard him talk off and on for years about things at Webster City.
Mason City is one of my old stomping grounds. Back when I was in college, I used to drive up there, do races on Sunday nights at the old at the Mason City track, big half-mile racetrack. I love what they've done with that track now. They took out the big half-mile, that smaller race. That's a great configured racetrack in Mason City now.
They blow your mind. We're going to have this. So Todd's going to put on his 25th anniversary event. It's going to be in the middle of the summer at Mason City, and he's working on all kinds of contingency stuff and special awards, and there's some stuff we're going to have to be involved with. I didn't really get the clearance for him to talk about them publicly, but it's all going to come out here and over the next little bit. But it's going to be a huge purse, and it's going to be the biggest purse that he's ever been responsible for in the history of his career. So that Mason City event in the middle of the summer is going to be quite the spectacle.
Right. I just want to give you a little bit of a shout out. Tammy, a great listener that listens to us in PA in Pennsylvania, even though there are no USMTS races in my neck of the woods, I've always enjoyed listening to Trenton Berry, a well of information.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm just an idiot with a cell phone, but hey, I appreciate that. You know.
Yeah.
That means a lot. I appreciate somebody saying that.
We've got a ton of people that listen to us out in Pennsylvania right now.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Hey,
I'd love to go out there to some races at some point. I've never even been to that part of the country.
Trenton, do you got anything else you want to add to what's going on and what's coming up?
We purchased a small stake in Mississippi Thunder Speedway over the winter. If you're just giving me an open forum here. Yeah, it was just done here in the last month or so. That's a place that's been awfully special to us over the years, and spot of some of our biggest events we've ever had the opportunity to cover. And,
Fountain City, Wisconsin, right?
Yep. The week of the Jayhawk Modified Classic, that track's got their biggest race of the year. It's $50,000 to win Dairyland Showdown, and it's a World Outlaw late model race. So pretty excited for that, and excited to see what the future holds there. As we're partnered in with a good group of people. We're not going to have to operate the racetrack. Obviously, that's not our skill set, but it's nice to dip our toe into another portion of the industry. And really, just for us, it was all about just trying to learn more. We just need to learn and figure out exactly how all this stuff works on the operations side of things, and what goes into the full package of the sport. I can talk with promoters till I'm blue in the face about streaming and everything that we do on that end, and they'll talk to you as well about some of the stuff on the operations side. But if you really want to pull back all the layers and the onions, it's kind of a pay-to-play endeavor, we felt like, over the years. So I'm excited to really dig in and just learn as much as anything and work with great people.
There you have it. That's Trenton Berry from RacingDirt.com. If you're a modified racer, that's the site you need to go to. USMTS, USRA. They cover everything that's modified racing over there, and they do a great job as well.
As far as I can tell, it's still on for tonight down here at Petty, Texas. So RacingDirt.com is the place to go to watch USMTS Modified tonight.
Right.
And tomorrow as well.
Yep, no doubt. All right, Kirk. Well, that was a pretty damn good show right there. We had Hudson O'Neal on, Trenton Berry, Ray Cunningham. I just want to say that I'm going to be a grandpa, Kirk. Did you know that?
Congratulations.
How about that? My youngest daughter, Tristan, is pregnant, and I'm going to be a grandfather.
Wow.
I've been waiting for a long time to be a grandpa. I'm 62 years old. Hopefully I'll live long enough to where my grandchild will remember me. How about you, Todd?
That's cool stuff.
What are we looking, September or somewhere in there?
You're not in a hurry to be a grandpa yet.
No, thanks.
You will be someday.
Someday soon. My daughter just announced she's getting married next year, so
congratulations.
So yeah, the Racing Boys.
You might be a grandpa sooner than later.
We thought, but a lot of changes going on in the Racing Boys family.
Yeah,
from all of us here. So
yeah, no doubt.
Congratulations to you guys.
Yeah,
awesome. We need good news.
Yeah, that's good news for me. That's all I tell you. So I'm looking forward to it. First time being a grandpa.
Going to change everything.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'll watch my grandbaby anytime, because I don't do a lot during the day now.
It was my most rewarding thing was being a stay-at-home dad. Like I said, I was a stay-at-home dad for both my.
I was too, Todd.
Kids, and I would never. I wouldn't trade that for nearly all the money in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the money, but not all of it.
Not all of it.
Nah, it'd take all of it.
All right, good job today, Todd.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Appreciate
buddy.
it.
Yeah, thanks to Ray Cunningham.
Listen, I just want you to know that Todd puts all that together, all those interviews together, and he has to cut them down because some of them are lengthy.
Yeah, these are all, like you said, if you want to watch
30, 40-minute interviews.
Yeah, if you want to listen to the full interview, obviously, our Mostly Motorsports podcast is available anywhere you get your podcast. You can go to racingboys.com. At that banner at the top, click on it. You can find it. We're on episode 253 coming up, or 254 maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate the kind words. And, yes, that podcast comes up right after the show's over with. So if you missed the show for some reason, you got in on the last couple seconds of the live, don't worry about it. The audio version will be up within less than a half hour after the show's over with. So you're good to go.
We need to get Danny Lasowski on to ask him what the news was.
That's right.
Yeah,
because when we had him on 2-3 weeks ago, he said, I've got some big news coming.
He teased us.
He did. He teased
us twice, actually, at the beginning of the interview and at the end. So... yeah, I'm with you. He said he'd be at Volusia this weekend. That was why he wasn't going to be at the Hall of Fame this weekend. So we knew he was racing. So, yeah, let's get the dude back on and let him break the news for us.
Yep, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you, brother. For my partner, Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor. We're the Racing Boys. We can't thank you enough for listening to the show each and every Saturday morning. Don't forget, we're going to be doing Mostly Motorsports at 12 noon Central Time right here on RBN, the Racing Boys broadcast.
And that show is always original interviews. We replay some those interviews here on the Saturday morning show, but the Monday show is the big show, all original live interviews.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, for Todd Surprise, for Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week right here on Track Talk.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.